All right, this is like take 9. There's a video up on YouTube that I'll give you the link to. I recorded this whole thing with my kids running in and out, and there were some hysterical moments, and somehow the audio didn't work. So I'm hopeful I've got the audio figured out. What I want to do is just give you a few notes and thoughts so you can hear straight from me on what we're looking for, what we're thinking with this test. Here's what you got to do. Go through every line of this review and be able to define, be able to apply, and be able to critique. You should be able to define by looking at the Zickman text and your notes. You should be able to do both of those things with each of these. So that's a really good way to study. Another good way to study is together. And if you don't have anybody to study with, call me. And I'll call you, and we can study together, or text me. But looking specifically through these lists, the intro week, obviously, I want you to know the scientific principles and spirit. That's what Moneyball's about, bringing the scientific research spirit to a business environment that needed it, and the research heroes won at the end of the day, so of course I love that, right? Anytime you can incorporate book illustrations like those from Moneyball, like those from Super Crunchers, like those from Why We Buy, or Alex in the Zappos tour, real life applications, good moments for you. Makes me see that you can connect these ideas. They're not just definitions, you're not just a dictionary, you can actually apply them. Sagan's 2 pillars, wonder and skepticism. I had the wondrous little girl running through the screen moments ago. She's asleep now. But know that. And know that with basic and applied research, it's really a distinction that's sometimes hard to make, because a lot of times a basic research finding will actually turn out to be a really important applied one. You might be able to delve into the workings of the brain and learn something in a basic research sense, but then it's applicable to how you work the line at a nightclub. I have a dog racing through the background sneezing. Charming shadow. The ethics section, here's what we want you to really focus on with ethics. That informed consent document. That really lays all of it out. If you understand each of those concepts on there and understand that practical way of the ethics world, that's how ethics really plays out in a lot of research environments. Know that informed consent, and you'll be in really good shape. During the research process, be able to come up with concepts, ideas, and then be able to turn it into a measurement. That's what this is about. Conceptualization on the one hand, thinking about it. Operationalization on the other hand, turning it into a measurement. Reliability and validity. Got to know those, right? Repeatability, consistency, and validity then, of course, is, are we really measuring what we think we're measuring? And arguing that you are, in fact, measuring what you say you're measuring. Dimensions or aspects or facets or identifiable parts, kinds, right? Indicators are the measures that you choose to use. That's really what those are. Dummy tables, really good tool where it shows you where the data is going to go eventually. So you can start to sort of formulate a report before you even have the data. Looking into sampling. With both like sampling and surveys, and experiments for that matter, here's what I'm very likely to do. Here is a hospitality scenario. You're doing the Rock in Rio concert on the corner of Sahara and the Strip. Figure out how to sample these folks, to get a representative sample. And I might tell you to do a probability sample, and then you can choose one of them. I might tell you to do a non-probability sample, then you can choose one of them too. I'll give you a choice, I promise. But know the difference between those two, and know at least one kind of each of those to be able to describe in a scenario like that. Be able to then, of course, write a good question, and write good attributes too. Know what a good question has, and then what good attributes have. Good attributes need to be mutually exclusive, exhaustive. Those are things you should know. Remember that. Surveys, once more, we'll give you a whole list of different kinds of surveys. We don't want you to memorize them, but once you start pouring through that list, you'll really start to understand the benefits and costs, right? Cost is one. Some of them are cheaper. Some of them are harder. Usually that is linked up with labor costs, with people. But be able to understand and internalize and really digest those strengths and weaknesses by reading through all of those slides we gave you on the different kinds of surveys and the strengths and weaknesses. Experiments are great because they can identify a cause. And causality is like a gold standard, man. And if you can pull that off, if you're the kind of person who doesn't have to guess at a cause, but can actually determine what's causing my business to do well or poorly, you're in great shape. There are all sorts of rules of causality. Know what those are. And understand how an experiment actually controls for each of those. In other words, it ensures that the things you have to establish causality are actually there and are actually working in the right way. Know about internal validity, external validity, good. External validity, of course, generalizability by and large. And of course, in general, with sampling, you can generalize to the degree you have achieved representativeness, which means in turn that a sample reproduces the variations inherent in the population from which it's drawn. So rewind that sentence I just said. I'm not going to say it again because I might screw it up, but that's the big relationship here with all of these. So test marketing, you can do it with multiple cities, always a good tool. And then the qualitative turn, once more, I want you to be able to incorporate both why we buy. You did a great job of talking about field observation. Know that this comes from ethnography and a lot of qualitative work in general. Comes from social sciences taking a turn away from numbers towards words, because that's how people talk. It's how people communicate. Know how persuasiveness is achieved with words rather than statistically. And finally, the ultimate question, is there a perfect tool? No, right? Ultimately, you're building a case. Be able to be a really good attorney. Provide me with compelling arguments that show me that you know what these things are and you can apply them in a hospitality illustration, and that you know that there are strengths and weaknesses. No perfect tool, but here are the good things about this. I know those, and here are the bad things. I know those too, and here they are. You'll be in good shape. If that's not the case with any of these lines on this review sheet, if you don't know the answer, if you don't know how to define, apply, or critique something there, call me, text me, type me, do whatever, but reach out. Thank you for being patient with my technological ineptitude. Cheers.